Oh, honey, I'd be so happy if you turned Nellie.
Ain't no way. I'm straight. I mean, I like a lot of queers, but I don't think they're equipment, you know? I like women.
But you could change.
This is part 2 of my discussion. On Facebook, I removed anyone who was related to me just because why place an unnecessary burden on them. Some of you will know these people I'm discussing. How you handle the information says more about you than anything else. This is a discussion about Jesus Christ and how Christianity plays a very significant role in this discussion of gender and sexuality specific to my family. I used to study the Bible all the time, and I came to the conclusion that I should go and discuss some of my own internal conflicts with other Christians so that I could resolve these inconsistencies that I felt that I had in my life. I've discussed this before, so I'm not going to go into all the details again. But I felt that there were contradictions in my own sexuality that were inconsistent with what I saw in the teachings of Jesus in the Gospels. So I went for help, was disappointed, then I came back and discussed it with my family. As I look back on that experience, I realized that that is the moment that I came into direct conflict with my family, and I'm going to try and explain a little bit of it to you here. This is a brief list of some of the repetitive, dysfunctional sexual behaviors that reoccur inside of my family. Incest, pedophilia, rape, and then we have some various expressions of prostitution. Sometimes children were put into prostitution for drugs or money. I bring all of these up, only the ones that I know have reoccurred in the family. They would call them generational curses. I'm going to list same-sex attraction here because it is covered up in the family. I would also list bisexuality still has an element of same-sex attraction, and then transgender attraction. From what I understand, that would be men attracted to trans women. This is how I find out about the incest that reoccurs in my family. Years ago, 20 plus years ago, I was researching my family history and tracked down information and some people's names through an obituary. No one in my family ever talks about family history, people, places, names. I find this obituary in archives in Shippensburg, Pennsylvania. And I take this back and I tell some family members, and they acknowledge that this is in fact a member of our family. This starts a long discussion, and then the person that I'm talking with, they tell me that there is a picture of my grandfather that someone else has in their possession. I was calling around, just gathering information innocently, and I brought up the picture, and I had noticed a cold response. Stonewall, I would now say. I go to this house where the picture is, the person who has this picture. It is this person and 2 other of my family members. I sit down, just innocently discussing the information that I'd found. I was excited to track down the history and know a little bit more about myself and my family. Long story short, it's a picture of my grandfather and other members of the family, if I remember everything correctly. My wife is with me so she could confirm this and possibly fill in some of the blanks. For some reason that I didn't understand, the conversation goes weird. People get quiet and cold. They're not bringing the picture out. I am not allowed to see this picture. Finally, for some reason I don't understand because I have not seen this picture, they tell me that discussing family issues like this is sensitive and I'm not going to get a lot of information because our family has a history of incest. This is how I find out about it. That's how the conversation ends. And the strange thing is, one of the people who was involved in this discussion tracks down all of the family information. They've known this, and here I am asking about it. I'm not allowed to see the picture. I get no more information. I have never seen a picture of my grandfather, and my childhood photo albums, someone has them in their possession, and I have never seen them for 20 plus years. I will never see those pictures ever again. Pedophilia, it is hard to discuss that one because I would give away too many details. There's so much involved in it. It's a reality. LGBTQ. People just snitch on other people when that other person is not around and try to shame them with their sexuality. That's how I learned about that aspect of what I'm discussing. I'm going to do another part. Part 3 will probably be the last one, but I'm going to go into more detail on all of these for the sake of time, and they're just things that are hard for me to formulate and discuss. I'm just going to briefly touch on them right now. Rape. I was told by someone that a member of my family raped them. 100% believe them. If I told you the story, undeniable. Another instance, when I was about 12 or 13, I was woken up in the middle of the night somewhere because there was a fight happening. And the fight was over the fact that a member of my family had raped someone. This person was being confronted by another person. Children put into prostitution for drug money. Happened more than once. So back to the original story, I had turned down an offer to pastor a church because I had gone in looking for my own personal healing and understanding of myself. And I didn't go to become a pastor. I went for help. I left that person, never spoke to that person ever again. I went back to my hometown and told a family member about the negative experience I had just had in church. I thought we were going to have a really deep conversation about Christianity and this hypocrisy that I had experienced. And I thought this person would be in absolute agreement with me that it was the best thing I did was to walk away. As a matter of fact, I went over to tell that person I was walking away from Christianity so I could figure this thing out. That situation turned out to be the biggest, loudest fight I had ever had with this person, ever. As I look back on it, that was the day the nature of my relationship with my family changed absolutely. During my brief time in counseling, the counselor, his name was Steve, he explained to me this situation that he had encountered in his counseling of other people who had different types of sexual dysfunction in their family. And it took me probably until about 3 or 4 weeks ago when I picked this book up before it made sense what he was trying to tell me. As difficult as my personal experience was, he was trying to make a point about survivor's guilt, which I didn't understand. It didn't make sense to me. But I missed somehow just a magnificent bullet that just destroyed everybody else. I'm going to say it's God's mercy. I just missed it. And that also isolated me from other people in my family. I don't know how I avoided it. I did not realize that all of my questions and concerns and the things that I was dealing with in my life and being more open about and researching and trying to discuss in a Christian context, I was actually digging my finger into people's open wounds and discussing things that no one was prepared to ever talk about under any circumstances. The person I had the big fight with when I was trying to explain the hypocrisy in Christianity that I encountered, 20 years later, it would come out that this person had an incestuous relationship with another family member. A few months after this, there is another situation that occurs where I have to confront someone because of their behaviors, inappropriate behaviors. It ends in a big confrontation with other members of my family, and I have to break ties with them. The person at the center of this fight, years down the road, will be a confirmed pedophile. I don't know how to explain this one or categorize it. However, there was another incident where it was confirmed that there was another sexual abuser in the family. This situation blows up out of control. I think I discussed this before in a previous video, but ultimately they choose the protection of this sexual abuser, and then I walk away from the family, period. No one sees my face for like a year and a half until someone comes to my door. I struggle talking about this because I have so much information that was told to me directly, and I have so much emotion attached to it, and it brings up so many memories from my childhood that allowed me to piece together exactly what I was seeing, that I struggle in expressing it in a linear way that makes sense even to me. The one time I looked at my medical records, I was listed as having depression and maladjustment something. I know essentially I could not adapt to reality. The reality I was seeing, the reality I was hearing, the reality I was living for those 9 months with them, I couldn't adjust. A definition of depression that helped me understand what it was and what my situation was depression is sometimes feeling everything at once. I was just overwhelmed. I think I had tried to explain it before in a different video, but I would stand up to pray because Muslims stand up to pray. And I noticed one morning, I felt like I was just melting or falling forever, constantly. It was just all of my energy, all of my intelligence, all of my humor, all of my drive. I was just melting, falling forever. I could just feel all of my energy just turning down real slow, but it was going down to zero. I probably hit absolute bottom about a year and a half after I stopped dealing with them. It's probably impossible for me to explain it, but it was absolutely the worst time of my life. It was the darkest, most empty, meaningless time of my life that I had ever experienced. Everything just felt meaningless, and it felt just like absolute despair. I have no words for it. There was a moment during that experience, if I think about it too deeply, it brings me to tears because I was at the bottom. There was nothing left, nothing. I can't even explain it, but I don't even understand it. For some reason, man, it was like in my mind, I was just doing all of this math. It was just the bottom of life. Everything was meaningless. And for some reason, I decided that irrespective of what I was going through, it made sense just to do the right thing for no other reason than it was just the right thing to do. I definitely cannot explain it, but it was a fork in the road. It probably saved my life. I just thank God. I have nothing to add to that. The positive thing about that level of depression and despair is the fact that I had the opportunity to get a really good look at myself. For good or bad, that day has become a defining point in my life. That's not a good thing. That was the extent to which I was down and out. I mean, that was it. That was it. People who struggle with depression, I know now that encouragement and advice means nothing. I don't know how my life turned around from that position I was in. It makes no sense. God, that's my best. That's it. I don't know how people come back from that. I don't. When people don't come back from it, I get it. But to look at it on the outside, not turning around is probably the worst thing you could ever do. It's so counterintuitive. To rebuild or choose to process all of those feelings and work through it, it's the least intuitive, the least comfortable thing I ever did in my life. I don't even know how you can tell someone who is really depressed to, I don't know. Thank God. Back to the original point. I followed those teachings of Jesus. When I had those negative experiences, I went to family members and discussed them in a Christian context. I thought I was doing the right thing by dealing with my issues and taking responsibility for my life and trying to find the ways and means to correct these errors and mistakes in my life. Now I realize that that initial decision to follow those teachings in a more deep and heartfelt and true manner was what put me into direct conflict with my family because of the enormous amounts of sexual dysfunction, quote unquote generational curses within my family unit, broad family unit, everywhere. It's everywhere. That's when I realized the hypocrisy that I was surrounded by. The vast majority of them who claim some relationship with Jesus Christ, a religious belief system, and strongly promote it, are the same ones who were engaged or are engaged in these same types of sexual secrets that they hold. The hypocrisy comes from them promoting Jesus Christ and the teachings of Jesus Christ, and then denying the reality of those teachings when it comes to dealing with the sexual dysfunction within the family, the habitual, repetitive sexual dysfunction within the family. In fact, I would go so far as to say that these family secrets, these sexual secrets, this dysfunction is the actual God that the family worships, because at no time will they ever expose these secrets or violate the sanctity of these secrets. They choose to push people out of the family who have experienced the negative aspects of this sexual dysfunction rather than deal with it directly. This is the part that I hate to discuss because I moved back to Pennsylvania. Pennsylvania is a racist, red, Trump-worshipping state, and I experience it on a daily basis. This president that we have never apologizes, never admits a mistake, etc. These are the same characteristics I see in my family members when I moved back and I was confronted with this overwhelming burden of sexual dysfunction and secrets that they are carrying. Some of my family members support President Donald Trump, who himself is a rapist, grabs women by the crotch, and has all sorts of sexual dysfunction on display, that the people who support him and say that he is a Christian and God's man on earth and that he's spiritual, some of these same people do the same things. I think it's fair for me to make the association between the two. They support a rapist as a godly man when they themselves are rapists, pedophiles, have all sorts of sexual sins and dysfunction that they hide yet claim some sort of divine grace that will wash all of that away, despite the fact that you never deal with these things or process all these destructive traits and habits that have been passed down from generation to generation. They're allowed to flourish while your Christianity becomes more and more weak and inconsequential to your life. Why talk about all of this? Making it onto the other side of the worst experience of my life is something that I'm so thankful for that I want to talk about it. I need to talk about it. To remain inside of that family that hides their true selves and hides their dysfunction under the guise of religiosity and being forgiven by Jesus Christ is not a healthy attitude to take. Neither does it promote growth and change and improvement. The things I briefly mentioned were going on in the past, they're going on in the present, and they will only perpetuate into the future. All of this discussion about breaking generational curses is a lie until you break them. The other reason is I need to be left alone now. The number of secret calls that I occasionally get from relatives, the number of calls where people cry and want to talk about things in private, I'm tired of that, because in public it's a different thing. In private, people tell me everything. In public, I'm treated like the enemy and shunned. I can't do that anymore. I need to come out into the light and walk around, because I went through things. I'm a human. I accept all of me, so I can accept all of other people. I just can't do it anymore. So if I've done this correctly, I will have no contact with any member of my family that is not willing to allow me to live free and live in truth and be open about my life and my life experiences. I'm going to give you another reason or a scenario so that it might make more sense. Other people feel like this too. I'm going to explain something to you. One day, I went somewhere. Members of my family happened to be there. I didn't know that they would be there. So I had to just go about my business. I had no contact with them. I wasn't creating any drama. I really don't hate them. I love my family. To this day, I love them. There are just certain things I cannot tolerate. I have a healthy, functional marriage. I have a sound relationship with my wife. And being around them, the only way I could remain a member of the group was to disrespect my marriage. I refused to do that. I think I told the story before. When it became evident to me that I had to choose between my wife and my family, I went to work destroying the relationship with my family. I went at it. Because they're weird, some of it was recorded. I would love to hear it because that was a moment in time, I am positive, I lost my mind. So anyway, I'm at an event. A member of my family comes up, I'm ignoring them. So someone I'm related to, they grab my hand and ask me if I'm going to go somewhere where they know other members of my family will be. And I say no. That's all I say. This person stares me in the eyes, trying to say more. And I know what it is. This is what this person did not know, or does not understand, or does not want to admit. I know that they are sexually dysfunctional and violated the integrity of their own family and children because of their sexual dysfunction. Their partner is a rapist. They're asking me to go somewhere and associate with people who are pedophiles, pedophile enablers, closeted homosexuals that make them dangerous and hateful to people because they cannot come to grips with who they are, etc. That person is asking me to die emotionally and spiritually and physically. That affected my body. Living around those people under those circumstances, surrounded by that hypocrisy and all that it breeds, hatred, envy, jealousy, the things that these people would say and do. I was going to say boggled my mind. It broke me. Listen, when I got there, the money was messed up. The medications were messed up. The socialization was messed up. Everything was messed up. It's a hot mess in there. It was killing itself. This level of hypocrisy, where we maintain that sexual dysfunction, allow it to fester, it turned into all sorts of anger, hatred, jealousy, all sorts of neurosis, physical ailments. It blew my mind when I walked back into that situation. 8 months. Living under that situation for 8 or 9 months, that almost killed me. To ask me to go back and talk to some of those people, having gone through what I went through, that shows me the level of hypocrisy and denial that I was surrounded by. So this book, Gender Explained, I think I made mention before that just to read some of the information, it made me cry. And I think I explained it before, but I'm going to just end the video and explain it again. This type of sexual dysfunction, these sexual secrets, these hypocrisies and inconsistencies that I really experienced up close after a 20-year absence. When I come back, everything is dead and dying. Nothing is working well. Everyone is lying. No one is who they say they are. There is this pretense to health and well-being. There's this pretense of spirituality and love of Jesus. It's all pretense. It's pretense that covers up their true devotion, which is to maintaining these sexual secrets amongst themselves. That was destructive. And it got worse and worse and worse, and it stole so much of what these people were when I knew them 20 years ago. Some of these people I haven't seen since I was 14, 15 years old. I'm 53 now. The level of destruction that these secrets has had on this family is phenomenal. Their health is gone. It destroyed everything. There is nothing healthy in there. I was on the inside. There's nothing healthy inside of there. Nothing. If you stay, you are unhealthy, and you're only going to die physically, mentally, spiritually, emotionally, socially. You're going to die. It's dead in there already. So when I picked up this book, Gender Explained, it's as if it gave me some vocabulary to explain what I was seeing or what I was going through or what I myself personally was feeling. And it was a tremendous emotional release because I never get answers from my family. I never see pictures. They give you no family history because they're ashamed of everything. And to not be able to talk about these things is to not be able to process your own feelings. You can't get your own sense of self. And then because they do this to themselves in order to maintain this fake image, everyone around them is forced into this same sense of falsehood where they can never be who they are. They can never say what they feel. They can never express what goes on inside of them. So when I saw that definition of gender affirming care, I'm crying like an idiot in the parking lot with the book in my hand. Because they keep these secrets, there is no affirmation of life and your selfhood. You can never get firm footing and just stand somewhere and grow and mature and organize your thoughts in your life. They're incapable of affirming anything true because they need to live that lie. I would like to end this video by saying this. Jesus Christ is phenomenal. I cannot detail the strange places I have heard and seen discussions of Jesus Christ. I do not deny Jesus Christ. I affirm who Jesus Christ is. Jesus Christ is bigger than he is allowed to be inside of this dysfunctional family that I grew up in. They're ignorant of Jesus Christ because they choose to protect the God of our sexual dysfunction, that we repeat behaviors over and over and over. We pass this dysfunction from one generation to another. That occurs because they refuse to look any deeper into the teachings of Jesus Christ other than being saved by grace. You can be a pedophile, a rapist, unrepentant pedophile, unrepentant rapist, unrepentant sexual offender, engage in all sorts of acts of prostitution, put your children into prostitution, all of these types of behaviors. You can deny what you do, you can deny who you are, and just say that because Jesus died on the cross, your dysfunction, all of your lies that you perpetuate are fine. That's a lie. Jesus Christ promotes change and growth in the individual. That's what the Bible says. So somehow, these people, because we've been hurt, this is generations of dysfunction. For some of us, there is no hope in sight. Your only hope is to lie and pretend. That's what it feels like. That's not true, but that's what it feels like. So all of this pretense and lies and hypocrisy is only because they cannot find any deeper avenues into the teachings of Jesus Christ. They can't find any deeper avenues to open up their heart and truly look for forgiveness and mercy and repentance and wholeness and healing. Anytime it touches on our sexual secrets, they all stop. Every last one of them stops. They never go any further. So when I tried to pursue things to a deeper level as far as my own sexual inconsistencies and dysfunction, that immediately pushed me to the outside of the family. Along with those other people who have been raped, abused, molested, and because they express their pain and suffering from these circumstances in a way that does not maintain the secret, they get pushed outside and shunned.